Right, hello folks, welcome to episode 8 of A Northerner in Cornwall in search of King Arthur and a decent pint of bitter. Now then, it's been another jam-packed, fun week, shall I say. So, the other morning, Tracy says to me, she said, "Luke, Paul, you can't spend your entire retirement wandering around pubs and fields pretending that you're Indiana Jones." And I'm like, "Love, I'm not Indiana Jones. He wore a hat. I've got a flat cap. Different man entirely." But you know, the thing is, I've been thinking, right, all these legends about King Arthur being Cornish, you know, sword in the stone and the round tables, the knights, you know, all that jazz. So I thought, if Arthur's still hanging around, odds are he knows where to find a proper pint of bitter. Because, let's be honest, you know, Cornwall's got some lovely stuff. You know, beaches, pasties, views. But when it comes to a pint, you know, half the time it's artisan IPA served in a jam jar with a slice of grapefruit floating in it. You know, I don't want fruit salad, I want bitter. So, determined, I set off. Just me, me cap, and the unwavering belief that King Arthur was basically a pub man. So I'm walking down the lane when who do I bump into but Colin, the farmer. You know, he sat on a wall, he was peeling an apple with a knife that was like big enough to take down a wild boar. "Where are you off to, Paul?" he said, squinting at me like he already done something suspicious. So I said, "Oh, yeah, all right, Colin. I'm on a quest to find King Arthur." He doesn't even flinch. He just nods and goes, "Ah, yes, Arthur. Borrowed my tractor once. Never brought it back." And I'm like, hang on, Colin. Are you seriously telling me King Arthur popped round for your tractor?" "Aye. Said he needed it for jousting practice." "Oh, all right. Okay." At which point I think either Colin's gone mad or I've stumbled into something here. Anyway, Colin gives me directions, which in Cornwall means nothing. He says, right, keep going till the hedge looks like a dragon, then turn left by the rock shaped like a pasty. Honestly, it's like doing orienteering with Salvador Dali. So I keep walking, and who do I find leaning on a gate further up but Maggie? You remember? Retired librarian who whispers everything like she's in some kind of spy thriller. So she goes, "Paul, did you know Arthur once took out a book from the Bodmin Mobile Library? Overdue by 1,500 years. "Oh, right. Maggie, come on, for crying out loud. Speak up, will you? You sound like you're ordering contraband." And she just shakes her head and says, "The Knights of the Round Table were very big on late fees." At this point, I'm thinking, what am I doing with my life? You know, normal blokes my age, they're on a golf course, and here I am, stood in a muddy lane, being told that King Arthur once borrowed a tractor and dodged library fines. But the thing is, right, it feels like destiny. You know, the air's a bit misty, the crows are circling, and I can practically hear dramatic music in my head. Not heroic music, mind you. More like that theme you get on documentaries about people who've been missing in the woods for 3 days. You know, that type of thing. So, I take my cap, mutter something heroic like, "Right then, Paul lad, onwards." And I stride into the unknown, which in this case is a hedge that, if you squint, does look a bit like a dragon, you know. So Colin was right, I'll give him that. So my quest begins. King Arthur, a decent pint of bitter, and quite possibly tetanus, if I carry on climbing over these rusty gates. So I'm striding along like some kind of budget knight errant, no horse, just bunions and a fleece from Sports Direct, when I stumbled upon this bloke standing outside what can only be described as a shed with delusions of grandeur. And there's a big sign outside, Trevor's Arthurian Tours, history brought to life. Now, Trevor looked like the kind of man who's been asked to leave a number of history societies for being too enthusiastic. You know the type? Long hair, fake chainmail, t-shirt, and, I kid you not, a plastic Excalibur sticking out of the top pockets of his cargo trousers. He sees me and he says, brave traveller, see ye the noble Arthur? I said, yes, I do. Also, do you do a decent pint of bitter? Oh, I've got mead. I'm like, mead? What is it, the 12th century? If I wanted to drink honey, they'd have gone off. I'd just raid Tracy's baking cupboard. Anyway, Trevor insists I come inside his shed, which is lined with like posters of Arthurian myths and a suspicious number of lava lamps. He starts giving me the full lowdown. Arthur wasn't just a king. He was a Cornish king. Lived right here. Fought Saxons over by the Tesco in Wadebridge. And held council in a little chef. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, how much of this is history and how much is Trevor's last hangover? But then he leans in, he's very serious. Arthur still walks among us. I saw him once, buying a sausage roll in Greg's. Now look, I'm no scholar, but if King Arthur is still alive, I doubt he's queuing up for a steak bake. He's probably more of a, steak and ale pie man. But Trevor, he's deadly serious. So, I humour him for half an hour, nodding along as he explains that the lady of the lake lives in a caravan near Bodmin, and Merlin once ran a chip shop in Redruth. Eventually, I thank Trevor. I back out slowly before he asks me to, join his round table, which, by the way, is clearly just an IKEA garden table with 4 camping chairs. And I continue the quest. And that's when fate intervenes. Because I find myself outside the Goose and Crown, lovely looking pub. Proper like slate roof, hanging baskets, and I think this is it, Paul. The grail awaits. So I stride in, chest out, ready for destiny. And behind the bar is none other than Gwen. Yeah, Gwen. You remember she's usually found at the WI Bake-Offs force-feeding people lemon drizzle cake with all the subtlety of a forklift truck. Well, today she's behind the pumps. She gets everywhere. Oh, Paul, she shouts as if she's calling the bingo numbers. What are you doing here, my lover? Oh, I said, hi, Gwen. I'm on a noble quest for King Arthur and a decent pint of bitter. And she says, well, you've come to the right place. We do an artisan nettle stout, brewed with actual twigs. I just stared at her. Gwen, I don't want twigs. I don't want moss. I want a pint that doesn't taste like gardening. But she's very insistent. So she pulls me this pint that looks like ditch water after heavy rain. God, smells like it too. I take one sip and I swear I can feel actual bark stuck in my teeth. Meanwhile, in the corner, there's a group of blokes singing sea shanties. Lovely atmosphere, you might think. Except one of them keeps glaring at me every time I don't join in. He's halfway through Lever Johnny and suddenly points at me, sing stranger, I'll buy a round. And I'm like, sorry mate, I just came in for a beer. It's not Britain's Got Talent. But no, apparently in this pub, refusing to join in with shanties is like refusing to pay your council tax. So I end up clapping along like some malfunctioning seal just to keep the peace. Tracy texts me at that exact moment. How's the quest? And I reply, currently trapped in pub, drinking twigs, being bullied by pirates. So I neck what's left of my woodland in a glass, make my excuses to Gwen, who tries to sell me a 6-pack of nettle stout to take home. No thank you. And I stumble out into the daylight, gasping for fresh air and a decent pint of bitter. And as I walk away, I hear Gwen shout, "Tell Arthur he still owes me a tenner." So, not only am I looking for a mythical king, but apparently he's also in debt to half the village. Brilliant. Onward then. If the next pub doesn't deliver, I may have to admit defeat and just take up me drinking with Trevor. And believe me, that's a fate worse than death, that is. So I'm trudging along, still burping up Gwen's nettle stout, when who should I bump into but Patricia, the retired nurse? Now, Patricia has this uncanny ability to appear whenever I'm at my lowest and somehow make me feel worse. She stops me dead in the lane. "Paul," she says, looking me up and down like a dodgy satsuma, "are you breathing correctly?" "Oh, okay. Patricia, I'm walking. I'm literally alive in front of you. That's about as good as it gets." But no. She's rummaging her handbag, pulls out a stethoscope, and before I can blink, she's got it clamped to my chest. She said, "Bit irregular. You should sit down. Have you been stressed recently?" I'm like, stressed? I'm on a quest for a mythical monarch and a pint that isn't brewed with shrubbery. Of course I'm stressed. Anyway, I eventually escape, but not before she gives me 2 leaflets on mindfulness and something called breathe awareness workshops. I did ask if they serve bitter there. She didn't laugh. So I carry on, determined, when suddenly I hear, "Paul, you're ruining everything." I turn round and, oh my God, it's Helen, the drama student. She comes flouncing out of the cafe, scarf flying like she's in a French art house film. "Arthur," she says, "is not a man. He's a metaphor, a feminist icon, a representation of cynical struggle in a patriarchal society." I said, Helen, I'm just looking for a bloke in a crown and a pint of bitter. I don't need a dissertation." But she won't stop. She drags me inside the cafe where she and her mates are drinking turmeric lattes. I mean, turmeric. I've got enough joint pain to know turmeric belongs in a curry, not floating in milk. And they all start lecturing on how the Holy Grail is actually the female spirit of renewal, and that Arthur would never drink bitter anyway. He'd drink ethically sourced kombucha. God. At this point, I'm ready to climb on the nearest surfboard and paddle back to Wigan. So I make me escape again and stumble into another pub, the Mermaid's Folly. Now this looked promising. Wooden beams, proper bar, open fire, smell of vinegar and old carpet. Perfect. So I asked for a pint of bitter. The landlord gives me a look as if I've asked for a flaming sambuca at a funeral. "We don't do bitter," he said. "We do cocktails. Very popular with the tourists. How about a Cornish sunrise?" And before I can stop him, he's put 3 umbrellas, a glow stick, and what looks suspiciously like a slice of raw beetroot into a glass. And it arrives at the table smoking like something from a GCSE chemistry experiment. I take one sip, and it's indescribable. It tastes like toothpaste having an argument with diesel. And just as I'm about to hurl it into the nearest plant pot, who should walk in but Derek, the ex-mechanic. "Paul," he shouted, "are you questing? You need sound effects?" And he proceeds to follow me round the pub, making galloping noises. Clip, clop, clip, clop. I kid you not. The landlord's looking at me like I brought my own horse in. Then Derek starts doing a wind swirling through the mists noise. Except it sounds less like mystical weather and more like a pensioner trapped in a lift. Oh, by now, I've had it. I downed the rest of me Cornish sunrise, just to get it over with, nearly burn a hole in me esophagus, and storm out the pub. Derek trotting behind me, making neighing sounds. Ellen texting me feminist quotes, and Patricia still lurking somewhere with a stethoscope. And I thought, Paul, this is it. This is what it feels like to actually lose your mind. But somehow, deep down, I still believe that pint of bitter exists. You want a proper pint, not twig juice, not a smoking cocktail, a pint of bitter that tastes like home, like the North. So I square my shoulders, tell Derek to shut up with the horse noises, and march on into the gathering Cornish mist. So there I am, storming out of the Mermaid's Folly, fizzing with beetroot and rage, when Derek decides to stick with me. He's now got a coconut shell he's banging together like Monty Python's Budget Night. Clip clop, and shouting to Camelot. I'm like, oh my God. Derek, it's not Camelot, it's Camborne. Very different. One has nights, the other has a retail park and a Greggs. But he won't listen. He's making a dragon roll noise at random pedestrians. One poor woman nearly dropped his shopping while he bellowed outside the co-op. And if that wasn't enough, Colin the farmer pops up again, leaning on a gate with that grin that says, I'm about to ruin your day with trivia. Paul, he says, did you know the real golden goose lays its eggs at dawn? Oh, and that Arthur's sword was forged, not in Avalon, but in a shed just outside Truro? Oh, I said, Colin, mate, unless that shed has a bar that serves bitter, I don't care. But he ploughs on. They say Arthur himself once wrestled a mackerel the size of a horse, right off Perranporth Beach. And of course, Derek immediately starts making fish noises. I mean, I didn't even know that fish had a noise, but Derek's found one. Sounds like a bloody Hoover sucking up a sock. So now I'm walking down a country lane with Derek imitating aquatic life, Colin listing goose facts, and me seriously questioning all my life choices since moving to Cornwall. Tracy texts me again. How's the quest? I reply, currently being followed by Farmyard David Attenborough and Sound Effects Sid. No pint yet. Then, Salvation. In the distance, another pub. The Crown and Carrot. It looks perfect. Old stone, smoke coming from the chimney, the faint sound of laughter drifting out. Oh, my heart soars. This could be it. This could be the Grail. I stride in. And what do I see? A group of tourists from Surrey on a wine tasting weekend. Not pints, not bitter. Wine. Fancy wine. You know, the sort of wine where they swirl it and say things like, oh, I'm getting hints of oak and regret here. So I march to the bar. Pint of bitter, please? The landlord looked at me as I've asked for a bottle of Sunny Delight. We don't really do bitter, but we have a lovely Sauvignon Blanc. I said, mate, I don't want Sauvignon Blanc. I don't want a Riesling. I don't want anything that comes like with tasting notes. I just want a pint of bitter that doesn't need an essay. That's all I need. But no, I'm handed a glass of white that smells like Lynx Africa left in the sun. So I take a sip. My mouth puckers like a cat licking a lemon. All these tourists from Surrey, they all cheer. Ooh, isn't it marvellous? I'm like, no, it's not marvellous, it's tragic. It's like watching a donkey try to ride a bicycle. That's when I realise this isn't just a quest for Arthur. It's a test of my very soul. Cornwall is weeding me out pub by pub, landlord by landlord, to see if I'm worthy of the bitter. So, I down the wine, out of pure stubbornness, not enjoyment, and storm out once again. I'm not giving up. By now it's late afternoon. The mist is rolling in across the fields. Derek finally peels off, galloping into the distance to terrorise another village with his horse noises, and Colin mutters something about goose bedtime and disappears into a hedge. And suddenly, it's quiet. Just me, alone on a long winding path. The hedge grows high on either side. The air is damp and heavy. The perfect moment for destiny. Somewhere ahead, I swear I hear a voice low, rumbling, real, and I think, Paul, you're either about to meet King Arthur, or you've finally gone mad from bad beer and beetroot cocktails. I mean, either way I carry on. Because if this misty field doesn't hold the answer, nothing will. So, there I am, striding through the mist like a man who's either about to meet King Arthur or accidentally join a dogging society. I mean, you never know in rural Cornwall. And out of nowhere, I stumble into a field where, and I kid you not, there's a full medieval reenactment happening. Knights in armour, maidens in dresses, one bloke clearly dressed as Gandalf because he got the wrong memo. A chap in chainmail blocks my path. He's about 5'6", has a Cornish accent thicker than clotted cream, and is brandishing what looks suspiciously like a B&Q garden spade. "Halt," he said. "None shall pass unless they prove themselves worthy." So I said, "Excuse me, mate. I'm just trying to get to a decent pub. Now, unless you've got bitter hidden in that helmet, shift." But he won't move. He insists I take part in the Knight's Challenge, which it turns out is basically a sack race in armour across a muddy field. So there I am, sweating buckets, bouncing around like a malfunctioning pogo stick, while half the villagers cheer, and one fella films it on his phone shouting, "This'll go viral." I nearly face-planted in the mud 3 times, but somehow, by sheer middle-aged stubbornness, I win. The knights all applaud. I'm presented with a trophy, which is, in fact, a half-eaten Cornish pasty, but it's still warm, to be fair, so it's not bad. And just as I'm catching my breath, Tracy phones me. "How's it going?" she said. And I'm like, "Well, I've just won a sack race against Sir B&Q Spade, and now I'm eating a stranger's pasty, so, just a normal day." Anyway, she says, "Just don't embarrass yourself, love." Too late for that, Tracy. Far, far too late. Anyway, the reenactors point me towards the sacred glade where Arthur supposedly appears, and I think, finally, we're closing in. So off I trudge, past hedges that all look the same. I swear Cornwall's designed like a maze just to mess with outsiders. At one point, I walk in circles so long I'm convinced I'm accidentally joined a Morris dance. Anyway, eventually I stumble into a clearing, and there's a campfire, and around it a group of druids, or possibly just blokes from Redruth in bathrobes. It was hard to say. And they're chanting something in Cornish. Now, I can't make it out, but it sounds suspiciously like, "Who ate all the pasties? Who ate all the pasties?" One of them beckons me forward. "Traveller," he said, "you seek Arthur?" And I nod. Yeah, Arthur, King of the Britons, and ideally a pint of bitter that doesn't taste like fruit salad. The druids exchange knowing looks. One of them pulls out a can. My heart leaps. This is it. This is the Grail. He hands it to me, and it's Foster's. I look him dead in the eye. This is an insult. I'd rather drink rainwater from a welly. The druids hiss like I've spat on sacred ground. One of them mutters, "The prophecies said he would reject the lager." So apparently that's a good thing. Anyway, they start bowing, chanting louder and waving their arms about, and I'm stood there thinking, "Oh, please don't sacrifice me. I've still got 3 episodes of Midsummer Murders to catch up on." And just as the chanting hits fever pitch, the mist part, and I swear I see a silhouette, cloak crowned, sword glinting faintly. The druids all fall silent. One of them whispers, "Behold, the once and future king." And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, right, this better not be another bloke from the pub in fancy dress, because I'm running out of patience and clean socks. So there I am, trudging through the mist, exhausted, trousers covered in more mud than a Glastonbury portaloo, when I hear it. A sound, gentle at first, like rushing water. I follow it, stumbling over brambles and rocks, until I see it. A waterfall, tall, silvery, cascaded into a pool that looks like it belongs on a postcard. And here's the weird bit, right? Because behind the curtain of water, I swear I see a glow. I mean, not natural light, a warm, golden glow, like the sort you only get from a pub at last orders. Now, most sane people would look at that and say, best leave well alone. But me, I'm thinking, finally, somewhere might be serving proper bitter. So I step forward. I mean, the spray soaks me instantly and my shoes squeak like a dying mouse, but I push through the waterfall and suddenly, silence. On the other side, there it is, a pub. I mean, not just any pub. I mean, it's the perfect pub. You know, thatched roof, wooden beams, crackling fire, brass fittings polished within an inch of their lives. The smell of malts, hops, and a, faintly damp carpet. The true smell of Britain. But here's the strange thing. It's empty. I mean, completely deserted. There's no punters, no chatter, no jukebox, no fruit machine going off every 30 seconds. Just stillness. So I kind of creep to the bar. I mean, it's like walking into a dream. My eyes scan the pumps. Doom Bar, Tribute, London Pride. And there, gleaming like Excalibur itself, a handful labelled simply bitter. Oh, please let it not taste of citrus. Then from the shadows, a figure emerges. He's tall, broad-shouldered, with a crown embroidered on his bar towel. He's polishing a glass that's already spotless. And his name badge read Arthur King. I'm like, hang on. Are you? He nodded. I'm Arthur King, landlord, keeper of the barrel, protector of the perfect pint. I swear a heavenly choir went off in my head. And then he gestured. Would you like one, traveller? Well, I can barely speak. My bottom lip's trembling. Yes, please. God, yes, please, yeah. He takes the glass, pulls the pint with a precision that borders on religious ceremony. The liquid flows amber and steady. A creamy head forms perfect. It's like it's been drawn with a ruler. He places it before me. I lift it slowly. The weight feels right. The smell is rich, malty, none of that tropical nonsense. I take a sip, and I swear, the world stops. It is perfect, smooth, balanced, bitter but not harsh. This is it. The Holy Grail, the pint I've been seeking all this time I've been in Cornwall. I slam the glass down, overcome with emotion. Arthur, you're a genius. And he just smiled. No, I am simply the guardian. The pint was always here. You just had to find it. So I paused for a minute. Right. But just to clarify, are you the King Arthur or just a bloke called Arthur King who runs a pub behind a waterfall? He leans in, his voice low. Does it matter? And you know what? He's right. It doesn't. Because at that moment, I am holding the greatest pint of bitter in Britain. I look round the empty pub, the fire crackles, the mist outside swirls against the windows, and for the first time since moving to Cornwall, I feel at peace. I raise the glass. To Cornwall, to Arthur, and to bitter that isn't fruity. Arthur just raised his cloth in salute. Cheers, traveller. Then I hear Tracy. Tracy's voice from nowhere. Paul? I open my eyes slowly and it takes a moment to realise I'm still in Cornwall, lying on the grass by the little stream near the village. The mist is lifted, the gulls are squawking, and for a moment it's peaceful, almost suspiciously peaceful. Tracy's there. She leans over. Paul, you've been asleep for ages, honestly. You look like you've been wrestling a sea monster. Oh, I sit up. Right. It was all a dream. All a bloody dream. I close my eyes. remembering the pub behind the waterfall, the glowing amber pint, Arthur King polishing glasses with the expertise of a knight. Tell Tracy. She just laughed. It was rather theatrical. But maybe don't try to find pubs through waterfalls again, Oh, yeah. So I stand up, brushing the grass off my trousers, and look around at the rolling Cornish fields, the sea glinting faint in the distance. Well, wasn't real. But everything else has been. The walks, the surfing, the villages, the choir, all of it. Suppose that counts for something. Tracy nudges me. Something like a pint? I shoot my head. No, not that pint, no. But it's the chase, isn't it? That's the thing. You know, all the mud, the nettle stout, Colin's trivia, Derek's galloping. You know, the adventure is the pint now. And who knows, you know, maybe one day the perfect pint really will exist, you know, behind a misty waterfall, waiting for a weary traveller like me. I take a deep breath, the salty air filling my lungs. Cornwall, you tricky, beautiful, maddening place. You've taught me a lot. Mostly that life is messy, unpredictable, and occasionally hilarious. And if the perfect pint ever turns up, I'll raise it in your honour. Tracy just groaned. Oh no, not the pubs again. Oh, don't worry, love. I'll settle for reality for now. But I'm keeping my eye out. You can't hide a perfect pint of bitter forever, not from me. And with that, we start walking back towards the village. The Cornish sun dipping low. Laughter from the villagers drifting on the wind. And me thinking that, dream or not, it's been the adventure of a lifetime. So, Cornwall, beautiful, and home. And who knows what might happen next time, eh? Thanks for listening. Take care. I'll speak to you soon. Ta-ra now.